It's 2025 in a few more days. And I want to help you to be way more efficient, way more productive using Gmail in 2025. And that is why I've created this video for you. For those who don't know, I am Teddy Burris. I am a Google Workspace and Gmail strategist, trainer, and coach. I have been experimenting and practicing and even implementing Google Workspace / Gmail into my business since 2007. And I love it, and I think it's a useful tool, and I want to help you get more value out of it. Now, what should you expect from this video? Let me make sure you're not wasting your time. I'm going to share with you 8 sets of tactics that you can start using today to significantly improve your use of Gmail in 2025 and beyond. My goal is to help you stop drowning in email. My goal is to help you stop being overwhelmed with all the messages you get and the things you need to do. My goal is to help improve your productivity, your business, and even your life in the context of email. Now, what I'm going to share with you is all based on using Gmail in Chrome. And I strongly encourage you to do that for lots of different reasons. Primarily because when you do, you now have quick access to your contacts, to your calendar, to your Google Drive, your Google Sheets, Google Documents, etc., and all the other Google apps, trends, alerts, YouTube, etc., Google Voice, that you have access to in your Gmail account. It's all right there in Google Chrome if you use Gmail in Chrome. Additionally, if you use Gmail in Chrome, you have access to all the Gmail tool sets and features that are built into the app. You lose access to most of these when you switch over and use Gmail in Outlook or even Apple Mail. Use Gmail in Chrome. It is a much more efficient way of using this business tool. It all starts with managing the emails that show up, the ones that arrive in your inbox. You want to be very deliberate to mark the ones spam or even phishing if that's in fact what it is. You also want to delete without even viewing the messages that you know are of no value to you. Just because you get an email doesn't mean you need to read it. You want to unsubscribe from the newsletters that you no longer want or provide no value to you. Sometimes it's as easy as a single click. Sometimes it takes a little bit more, but get them out of your inbox. I encourage you to use Gmail's categories. It's a great way to organize the messages that show up, put the ones that are important in your primary, put all the rest of them over into the other categories and get to them later, but get to them. Use Gmail filters. That way you can take messages that come in that are all about, P&L or all about, licensure or whatever the categories are. You can put those into different areas. Sometimes we call them folders. They're called labels. Move them out of your inbox and manage them from the labels. It's a much better way to manage incoming email. Focus on what's important. That's the most important thing to do. Now, you want to get to the rest. You don't want to ignore it, but you do want to get to it. Manage how Gmail shows you your messages. You want to understand how Gmail stores messages first and foremost. You want to understand what is all mail, what's spam, what's trash, what are categories, what are labels. When you understand those clearly, you're going to be much more efficient at getting to the messages that Gmail's hanging on to for you. Don't rely on the trash to store important messages. You won't put a brand new loaf of bread in the trash can. No, trash goes in trash, spam goes in spam. Everything else stays in your all mail or in your labels or your inbox. Again, I encourage you to use categories. It's a much better way of managing Gmail messages. And use conversation threads. It's a little different. It takes a little bit of time to get used to, but once you get used to it, it is a much more efficient way to manage your emails. Let me go to Gmail and show this to you. So here's one of my Gmail accounts, and you can see that over on the left here, I got inboxes where I start. Now you can see that these are the messages I snooze. Here's the messages I sent. Here's messages that I may be writing in draft mode. But look under more. Under more, not only do I have scheduled messages, but I also have all mail. Pretty much everything is in all mail unless it's spam or trash. Let me repeat. Everything is under all mail. Your inbox, your sent items, all of your categories and all your labels. They're all in all mail unless it's spam or it's trash. And then there's categories. These are the categories that are across the top here. So not only can I get to them over here, but I can also get to them from over here. And then there's my labels. So again, all of my messages are in all mail, but they may also be in labels. And if they're in labels, they may not be in the inbox. They may be, but at the very least, they're under these labels. So I can put relevant messages that are relevant to these conversations or these topic points here. I can actually move them and drop them into a label. When I drop them into a label, you see they're out of my inbox, but they're over here. There's that message. So understand how Gmail stores your messages and how you can move them around, and you're going to be much more efficient using Gmail as a business tool. And by the way, I mentioned using message threads or conversation threads. This is one right here. This is a conversation thread right here. You can see there's a message, that's a message, that's a message. When I click on it, there's the first message, there's the second message, and this is the third message right here that got sent but didn't get delivered. So this is called conversation threads. It's a great way, again, to be more efficient managing your Gmail. And you want to get efficient replying to the important messages. You want to reply all only when you should reply all. You don't always need to reply all. You also want to be clear when you reply so that the person who gets your response understands it and doesn't need to bounce back another message and ask for clarity. I often say, write it, read it out loud, edit it if you need to edit it, and then hit send. And also, if when you respond to somebody and you believe that's the end of the message, then you send an archive and get it out of your inbox. It doesn't need to be in there anymore because you've already handled it. When you send an attachment, don't use words like photo one and sample document. Give the attachment, give the document that you're attaching a logical name so they understand what you are sending them. And don't reply to a message without changing the subject line if, in fact, the conversation changes. I get it. There's a message in there from Buddy or Bob or to Bob and Jim and Sam, and you want to start a new conversation with them. It's just as easy to hit reply all, but change the subject if, in fact, the subject changes. And get to know the tools, the tool set that's at the bottom of the screen when you're in the message box. Again, so you can be efficient and productive and effective replying to messages. Let me go show you what I'm talking about here. If I want to reply to this message right here, so when I click on the reply right there, I have the ability now, most people don't know that, hit this little down arrow and I can change the subject line. I can write whatever I want. Hey, dude. And if I'm starting a new message because I changed the subject, maybe I actually want to get rid of this previous stuff because it's irrelevant. So I can just highlight it and hit delete. And over here, the little arrows, you click on that, it makes it full screen. It's easier to read. And I also can clearly see the tool set that's down here. This is the formatting tools. This is the attachment tool, the link tool, emoticons, drive, images, confidential, change the signature line. And then under the three dots, look, I have other tools here. Spell check, print it, plain text mode, etc., etc. So get used to and experiment with what these tool sets are down here. And I mentioned you send an archive. If I reply back and I don't change the subject, I reply back with whatever I want. And instead of hitting send, I can hit send an archive and move it out of my inbox. you want to get to know the other essential features that are in the Gmail tool sets. And what I'm referring to here is I'm referring to Gmail settings. I'm referring to the inbox management tools that are across the top of the screen when you're looking at all your messages. I'm referring to the message management tool when you're in a specific message or you've selected a specific message or messages. Referring to compose feature that I just shared with you just now. Also the Gmail search features. You want to understand what these all are, experiment with them, including labels and categories, so that you get good, again, and more efficient and productive using Gmail. Let me go back and look at some of these things I'm referring to. In Gmail settings is right here, the sprocket. You click on that, click on See All. Furthermore, you have tools here to begin with for the presentation, but you can go to See All. You want to look through the settings for general and labels and inbox, accounts, filters, forwarding, advanced, etc., and understand what's available to you. How can you set up Gmail to better work for you? You also want to, when you look at your inbox, you want to understand what the tool set are up here. There's not a whole lot up here until you select messages. And once you start selecting messages, you have a bunch of tools up here, including under the three dots. Some of these that are under the three dots when you have a message selected is right here when you're actually hovering over a message. So there's the archive, delete, mark as unread, and snooze it. All right there. You want to know that you have access to these. You also want to know what are the features and the tools that are available to you when you're in a message. They may be across the top up here and or under the three dots here. They may also be over here and including under the three dots over here. So get used to what these are so you can quickly get to the ones you need to get to. So again, you can be efficient. And I mentioned search. You want to understand search. Gmail search, remember, it's created by Google, so it's powerful. There's a lot of features built in to Gmail search. Not only can I search for an email address, but I can also go over here to show more options. And I can go over here and I can put that email address up here. If I want to, get rid of the has words part right here, and I can look for my specific date, look in all mail or look in sent, etc., look in trash, look in spam. And I'm just scratching the surface here of the abilities that you have in Gmail search. And the way you're going to understand what you can do, again, is to go experiment with them or go watch more of my videos on this topic. Now you want an email strategy that works for you. I'm going to share with you the tips and the ideas and some of the tactics and the tools that you have available, but you need to create an email strategy that works for you. Maybe it's something that someone else is doing that you adjust a little bit for you, and that's fine, but have a strategy. That's critical. You want to use the filters and rules that are available to you built into Gmail. You want to unsubscribe with one click when you can. You want to schedule send when you can, so you don't send all your emails out at one time and at 5 o'clock in the afternoon when everybody's leaving. Maybe it makes sense to schedule an email to 8 o'clock in the morning for your boss. Maybe at noon for someone else. Schedule when it makes sense. You also want to use the snooze button when it makes sense. So you get to that message later. You don't need to deal with it now. And, again, use the forwarding features. I will show that to you when you get a message that you know for a fact, every time I get a message from this organization or this topic, this person should take care of it. So use those tools. Let me go show you some of these features in Gmail. So again, I mentioned filtering. So, if I go up here and do a search and I look for a message that's from Teddy Burris, I hit the show more options here. Well, this is how I can create a rule. So I can say all messages that come from Teddy Burris. I don't need this in here anymore. I can create a filter and I can say from now on, I want you to skip the inbox, but I want you to forward that. I want you to forward it to this other person. Or if I get a message from Teddy Burris, maybe I want to make sure that, I don't miss it. Maybe I want to star it. Maybe if I get a message from somebody, I know I never want to read another message from that person, then I can actually, if I want to, just skip the inbox, mark it as read, and then it's over in my archives, marked as read, and if I want it, I can go get it. Maybe what I need to do is mark it as read and delete it. Maybe I get messages from somebody, I don't want them to go to spam. So anyway, you want to practice and experiment with these features that are built into this so you can, again, make Gmail work for you. And you won't have these tools if you're using Outlook or another email client. I mentioned snooze. So if I don't want to deal with this message right here now, I can go over here and mark it, snooze it. I can also, if I want to, select it and snooze it. 3-dot snooze. Get back to it later. It'll put it over in snoozed. Snooze it till later today. It's right here waiting for me to get to it. And I mentioned scheduled sends. I want to send a message to my boss. If I want to send a message to my boss, then, I can, instead of hitting send, hit the down arrow and schedule it. I can say I want to send this tomorrow morning at 8, or I can change the date and time. Maybe I want to send it tomorrow, the 12th, but I want to send it instead, at 9, a.m. and schedule and send. So just different tools that you have available to you all within Gmail when you're using Gmail in Chrome. You also want to discover some of the other advanced Gmail features that are available to you. Some of the smart features that you can turn on under settings in general. Use the mobile app. I'm a big fan of using my Gmail on my cell phone. Often I do it in Apple Mail, but I also have the Gmail app there as well, so I can deal with messages quickly when it's time to deal with them so they get out of my way. Again, prioritize your inbox. Make sure the important messages are in the primary folder and move the other ones over in the other folders when it makes sense. Compose templates. When you can turn on templates, so when you respond to the same message over and over again, you create a new message over and over again, the same message, you can use a template and just edit some of the words, edit some of the text that are in there, but you don't need to write it all over from scratch. You want to supercharge your Gmail experience. I recommend that you get really good at using the keyboard, really good at knowing where your mouse needs to be and where you want to go to click on what you want to click on so you become as efficient as you can. Practice is how you get good at this. Use Gmail add-ons when it makes sense. Use the extended functionality. Use a tool called Streak. I like Streak. It's very useful for me. It may not be useful to you, but I also use Grammarly and Text Expander. Text Expander, again, is very similar to shortcuts, but they're shortcuts I can use anywhere that I can use my keyboard. And there's a lot of phrases and terms and statements that I type over and over again that I built into little short codes. And Text Expander just drops the text in there for me. Grammarly, can't say enough about the importance of Grammarly. Help me not spell words as pathetically as I used to. Integrate other apps when you need to integrate other apps. I have my Gmail and my Gmail calendar, Zoom, LastPass. I've integrated Calendly and other tools into my Gmail system so that I make this tool work even better for me. Pick the tools, pick the apps, pick the add-ons that are important to you. Don't just have them to have them. Have them because they're important to you. And lastly, stay informed. Subscribe to the channel. Take a look at my other videos. There's a lot of videos on here all around using Google Workspace and Gmail. Comment on a video and ask me a question. Or heck, email me and ask me any question. I promise you I will email. I promise you I'll respond to any comment on my videos. And lastly, practice the ideas that I've shared with you so that you get better using them and you become better at using Gmail in 2025 and beyond.